Welcome back, guys. So as promised in this video, we're going to be talking about connecting up some actual data to this country cell here so that we can actually see something appear in the name label and we can start to put a couple things together. So far in this video, or in this module, we've talked about creating a navigation controller, creating a table view controller, and creating the table view cell for that table view. But at this point, we're probably maybe even a little lost as to what we're doing or what we're creating. So let's go ahead and actually put in some data so that we can see some output. I'm not going to try to overwhelm you in this video. We're just going to keep things real simple so that we can see the basic idea of what's going on and try to connect some things together. So let's go ahead and go back to the table view controller. I'm going to actually click the exit button here. Click the table view controller so we've got a full screen view here. And for now, I'm going to go ahead and collapse these windows so things are really easy to read. So basically what we have going on here is, as normal with any view controller, we have the viewDidLoad function here with some comments. We can remove these. We're not going to need any of that, actually. Definitely not right now. And then if we come down here, we see this thing here that says table view data source. So these two functions represent the data source for the table view. Or in other words, these functions are going to tell the table view what it needs to display. So let's talk about the first one here. This is the number of sections in the table view. Well, in this particular case, we're only going to have one section. A section is just a group of items, and for this example, we're only going to have one group. It's just one list of countries. So instead of returning 0, we can just return 1. We're just going to have one section. Now, if we come down to the second function here, this function is asking us how many rows are in that section. Well, that is going to entirely depend on how many countries we have. But let's not worry about that right now. For now, let's just worry about getting some data on screen. So let's say that we wanted 2 rows in that section. So we're just going to display 2 different things. So we can put that there. Okay, so now that it knows that we have one section and we have 2 rows in that section, now the next thing that we need to do is actually tell it what cell we want for each row in each section, essentially. So the way that we're going to do that here is we're going to use this function that's commented out right now. So let's go ahead and remove these the comment symbols there. And we're going to see this function that says table view, and then it says cell for row at index path. And it looks like it has a return type of UITableView cell, which is basically what we just created a second ago. We created a subclass of UITableView cell. So it's asking us, basically this function is going to be called as many number of times as you have sections and rows. So we have one section and we have 2 rows. So this function is going to be called twice for both of the rows in the single section that we have. And it's asking you, hey, for this index, which is going to be 0 and 1, basically, what cell do you want me to display? So for now, let's go ahead and keep things super simple. What we're going to do is we're going to do what it says right here. We're going to say let cell equal tableview.dq reusable cell with identifier. And right now that says reuse identifier, but we haven't actually created that yet. So let's go back to the main storyboard. Let's click on the country cell. And let's go to the inspector over here. And right here where it says identifier, we're going to type country cell. That's going to be our identifier for this particular cell. We're going to come back into the table view controller, and we're going to type that right here, country cell. So we're going to DQ that reusable cell. What does that mean? What's going on here? So basically, the way that a table view works is they're very memory efficient, and the way that they work is it's going to reuse, like when a cell goes off screen and you can't see it anymore, there's no need to keep that in memory and keep that like basically loaded. There's no need for that. So we're going to take that one out of memory. We're going to reuse that same one, and we're going to populate it with some data. Well, that might be a little bit confusing to understand how and why that's happening. It's just a lot of magic that Apple has going on that helps us out, but it helps keep our applications super nice and super lean and running really well. So basically what you have to imagine is that if we have a list of 100 countries, let's say, while you're scrolling through them, it doesn't need to keep 100 of those items in memory. So what it does is it keeps reusing the same, I don't know, maybe it's 12, maybe 12 fit on the screen. So it's going to keep using the same 12 over and over again. So if you're scrolling and like United States country was at the top and then that goes off screen, and the next one that it needs to load is, let's say, the Philippines, well, it's going to take that United States cell, move it to the bottom where you're scrolling, and we're going to tell it that we want it to change United States to Philippines. This is going to sound really, really confusing, but it's actually really, really simple when you actually do it. So for now, without getting too complicated, let's just do this. Let's say let cell equal tableview.dequeue reusable cell with identifier country cell for index path, and we're going to cast this as country cell. So basically what we're saying is inside the storyboard, we had this country cell, we made it this type. So what we want to do is dequeue that same cell with that identifier, and we're going to cast it as a country cell because we know it's a country cell. That's what we set it as in the storyboard. So now that we know that it's a country cell, we should also have access to cell.nameLabel, which is that IB outlet that we added. So we could say cell.nameLabel.text equals, for now I'm just going to put Cole's country. And then we're going to return that cell back to the function. So let's go ahead and run this and kind of see what we have going on so far. So we've got two items that say Cole's country because that's what I told it to do. I said we have one section, which you've got here. I've got two rows in that section, so 1, 2. And then the cell that I want to use for each of these rows is the country cell that we made in the storyboard, and I want to set the name label.text to Cole's country. Now, obviously, in the example, what we had is a list of countries, so that's what we're going to kind of get into in the next or the following videos. But before we do that, in the next lesson, we're going to talk about the model view controller architecture. We're not going to get too complicated, but I just want to basically help you understand what we're doing. The MVC or model view controller architecture is very common in the mobile development world and in a lot of different areas of software development. So we're going to kind of talk about what that means, and then we're actually going to use it in the following videos to finish up this application. So I'll see you in the next video.